Well, we're back for another Rewatch Roundtable, this time with a very special group of young women who provided Rice fans everywhere one of those milestone moments, which have recently been something that's been a happy occurrence. Earlier, we celebrated the first ever win by the Rice volleyball team over Texas, which occurred in the fall of 2019. And today we bring back the members of the Rice women's tennis team in 2013 who carved their own place in history by defeating Texas for the first time, winning in Austin 4-3 in a match that was broadcast by the Longhorn Network, and you'll be able to enjoy in this week's Rewatch party. We'll go first around the room just for a quick introduction of everybody, and then we'll open it up to some questions. So, Nat, why don't you start us off? Tell us where you are right now.
Hi, everyone. As you can tell from the accent, I'm from England. So actually, I live back in England now. I'm based in Lee, which is close to Manchester in England. And I moved back here after I graduated. So that's pretty much where I'm up to these days.
Hello, I moved back to Toronto, Canada, so I still also probably have my Canadian accent flair. And then I pursued chiropractics after Rice, and now my specialization in sports sciences. So finishing that up and living my best life, I guess.
Hello, I'm Katie Gaither. I live in Edinburgh, Scotland now, although I lived in Houston for about 4 years after graduating. So yeah, it's actually a nice day here. Scotland's known for being really rainy, so happy about that. But yeah, Nat and I are about 3 hours apart, which is nice to have a couple of us across the pond again. So,
Danny.
Hi everyone, I'm Denny Trego. I'm originally from Bolivia, but I'm back in Houston, Texas now. I moved to California to pursue my MBA, and I recently moved back a year ago. So back in Houston.
Cool.
Yep.
I am currently in New York. I moved here after graduating to pursue my master's at NYU and sticked around thereafter. So yeah, quarantine in New York. It's a little boring right now, but yeah, and I work in banking now, so.
Leah.
I am Leah Freed. I stayed in Houston after school and live in the Heights now. And I just realized as we were going through this, I'm the only American who's on this right now. Actually, Katie's American too, but the only one who, yeah, exactly. And I am one of 3 consultants from this team. Danny, Katie, and I are all consultants now.
Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, I am an American too, but I am here in Houston still. Been the coach at Rice since 2008, the head coach since 2008, and had the joy of working with this team. And I was talking this morning about how we still all I stay in touch with all of them, which is really special to me. And it's great that they're still so supportive of Rice and our program and the bond that they have with each other. So just proud to have been the coach of this team and proud of what all of them are doing now. They're all exceptional. We're exceptional at Rice and continue to be exceptional and make a difference in the world today.
Great. When this team came together, I mean, obviously, a lot of stories on how recruiting came about. But Elizabeth, do you have anything you remember just about in the recruiting process for each of these ladies, and then all of you after that, just what drew you to Rice? What brought you to come to be an Owl and set up the match? What we're going to talk about today.
Well, I think the thing that really sticks out for all of them is their positive energy and their drive to be successful. I really felt like each of them really wanted to be Rice Owls and really valued what Rice stood for. That being a team environment, a great academic school, and being in Houston. But they all wanted to be here, and you saw that as they continued on their journey over their time at Rice.
One of the other things that I every year never ceases to be a point that I remember, and it's an interesting story, is the transition to college tennis. And what we're talking today, in particular, is about a team accomplishment, a team win, a milestone match because of the fact that it was a school win over another, not an individual person. But I know to varying degrees, depending on the youth and the junior environment, where there are some team environments. Just tell me a little bit about what it meant to kind of transition from what essentially is an individual sport based in tournaments and everything, and then coming into an environment where the most crucial element is that final team score. Leah, as the lone American throughout your career, I mean, how much experience did you have with team event type things and transitioning to a college environment?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it is one of those sports where it's pretty different than a lot of the other college sports, in that we mostly play individual growing up, probably similar to golf in that way, and swimming. And I think, in the US, we don't have a lot of team tournaments. We really have zonals and intersectionals. And unless you're playing in one of those, you're really just playing for yourself. You're competing against folks. You're still making friendships. You're still playing doubles. But it's a really great experience to get to come into college and play as a team and form that group and really have folks who you can get behind and cheer. Even though you have your individual matches, you have to all win and you have to all support each other.
Solo, how about you? Do you have any real coming into Rice? Do you have much experience in terms of in a team environment? And you were also the freshman in this group. And so when you come in and you're trying to embrace or become accustomed to a team, how did the rest of this group aid in that transition and make that become such a focal point moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I would never played any team sports. It was always tennis. So I never really got to experience what it was like to be part of a team and competing at the same time. And coming to Rice, it really made me realize how much I actually enjoyed that, how much more fun it is to be, still playing an individual sport, taking care of your own business on court, but then also having a whole team of this huge support system behind you, and also realizing that you have to have an influence that's greater than yourself on court. So I've really realized that, I love being part of a team sport, and it just brought a whole different level to athletics that I've never experienced before. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Throw this out to anybody. Was there a moment as you made that transition from the individual aspect to where the team thing really flipped on? Do you have a favorite moment, maybe the first moment once you were playing college tennis, where the team emphasis really jumped out at you and you felt like, I get this now? Anybody?
I think I can take that one. I think for me, the biggest difference was actually having the opportunity to practice together. I've had the opportunity to play as a team in Fed Cup or like Junior Fed Cup before, but we were only allowed to, practice 2 weeks before together before we go into competition. And even so, it's such a smaller group. But here, I think having the opportunity to practice all the time together and what came with it, going together to the team room to get ice baths after. And we basically had all our meals together. So I think it was not only playing, competing together, but all the other components that came, that made us a team. I think that's just for me, the best part of it.
All I was going to say there was, I think as well, growing up, I think a lot of us, if there are team tournaments, I know in Scotland, there were, team trips and stuff, even though it's an individual sport, but there would normally only be 1 or 2 girls. So I think it was an amazing experience just having a group of, 7 to 10 of us, every year, living together, playing tennis. Yeah, it was just good to have a big group of girls, especially. So, yeah.
I want to add on to Danny's. I think that's a great point Danny made, and we have some amazing memories of competing together. But some really, I mean, I think back to some memories from practice. I look at solo and I still remember, and I actually tell the story, when court number 5, she won, and we were playing team singles and she won a point. She's like, this girl is on fire. And it's like, I so vividly remember. Do you remember it, solo?
Yeah, it's never gonna go away.
But it's awesome. And that's what I loved, is like the personality of a team is kind of built in those training times together, right? And I think this is what's so unique about this group, is that they let everybody be themselves in practice, and everyone came to work hard. And just lots of, I remember talking about headphones, maybe having some Beats headphones, and I think that was on a practice. It was at on the bench at practice one day. It was an idea that just came up. Leah, do you remember that? So, but bottom line is, Danny's point is so true about like how, about being a team. And there's great moments that obviously, like while we're on this call today about the Texas win, but those moments that are some inside jokes and not so inside that solo's never going to live down. But I just cherish those times on the practice court with them as well as on the competition court. And so,
Elizabeth, along those lines, I know you've one of the things that I think, I know you've always made a point of emphasis, but obviously, as we've talked about with the change in the culture of individual to team, is the team building exercises for a sport like tennis probably must take a greater emphasis than they do in others, because it's not just meshing this group together as a team, but the team concept in general.
Yeah, I think it's always a balance of how much do you do team building activities that are planned, and how much does it happen organically. And I think everybody on this call can say this group did a nice job of embracing when we planned them. Sometimes they liked them, sometimes they didn't. The scavenger hunt didn't go quite as well. But I remember actually when we went to play UTSA before we went to Texas, we went, the team went on that one evening. We did it was like a haunted house, and there was a little roller coaster that we did was for kids. Do you all remember that? Like Leah, I think Leah probably helped me find it. Leah was awesome at helping, in finding those activities, and like really in finding good restaurants and making it a fun environment when we were on the road together. So I think it's important to have those times together. And I think that kind of tying us into the Texas, win, that weekend was a good quality. We worked hard, we played hard, but we had some fun together too. And I think when you're surrounded by a group of people that care about each other and enjoy being around each other on and off the court, great things can happen. And I reflect back on that weekend, and the whole weekend was fun. When we went to San Antonio, we played there on Friday, we had a day on Saturday, then we played Texas on Sunday. And if you guys remember that whole weekend as a collective weekend, but I just remember that time we had together that evening in San Antonio.
Yeah, no, I would agree with what you said there. To be honest, I think we all genuinely enjoyed the weekends that we were away with each other and competing and everything that came with it. It didn't feel like a drag. It felt like we genuinely enjoyed going away together and spending that time together. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why this team was as successful as it was, because we genuinely enjoyed what we were doing and enjoyed each other's company.
And speaking to Solo's point too, with it not being individual, of course, and you're working with the whole team, I don't think I can ever forget like the Houston Heat. And, maybe you lose the first set or win the second, or more so win the first, lose the second set. And you're like, dear God, please somebody win. So like I don't have to battle through this third set, like heat, exhaustion, etc. And then you realize it's like whatever 3-all, and now it is coming down to you, and you're like, oh my God, okay, like this is for you guys. I need an ice towel, please. Like I need to survive this third set. So a lot of good memories, and that Houston Heat definitely added to it. But seconding everything everyone said, it was like an absolute pleasure playing with everyone.
One of the things about playing team tennis is there's a certain level of crowd support that comes into that as well. And also a lot of on-court communication. Solo obviously touched on it a little bit with her celebration there, but and at that time playing at Jake Hess, kind of that on-court communication and kind of give people an audio clue to maybe how your match was going was even more important, because you had the two matches that were not part of a line of 6 where you could kind of get a sense of how that match was going. Obviously, I think the thing we're playing against crowds or communicating or urging each other on probably was at its hallmark for this group the year before, in a year where team earned an at-large berth to play in the NCAAs and went to Oxford to play in a regional and posted two just incredible dramatic wins. The second one, especially in the face of a rather energetic crowd rooting for the other team. So tell me a little bit about both, just what it meant to play in front of, you talked about the togetherness of being on the road and enjoying each other's company, but then that translating onto the courts, especially when you've got people that are creating a lot of noise for the other side.
Do you want me to go, or does somebody else want to go for it? I think we can all definitely guarantee that this team was probably one of the loudest that ever played tennis for Rise. No, I think we always knew when we were on the court, we were all quite loud, and we all had big personalities. I think that's definitely one thing I remember from this team, and one of the things I loved about it, to be honest. But we had so much support for each other. But then, like you said, the crowd that we used to get, I mean, I can remember we used to have people from all of the sports coming out watching us. We had some of the crowds that we used to get were absolutely fantastic. And I think that's a credit to Rise as well, because, you know, I think Rise genuinely used to back us, and I think we felt that, and I think that really did show in a lot of our results because of the crowds that we used to get and the people that used to come out and support us. So I think that definitely was a massive help, and you could tell they were there without a shadow of a doubt.
And I think for some of our matches where we were playing at other schools where they had the same sort of crowd that we'd have when we were at home, or even a bigger crowd if they were a big state school like Texas, like Arkansas, like Alabama, I think our team did an awesome job of blocking out the crowd, especially if they were a little bit more negative, and also just kind of getting together any support that we had. I mean, when we were in Mississippi, we had folks come who lived around there. Same thing in Orlando, same thing in Alabama. And we had all of these Rice supporters just coming out and really showing up for us and helping kind of cut into that crowd that might have been going the other way and giving us that support we needed.
And I'll add on to that, Leah. I think you all did a fabulous job encouraging each other as well. You all knew each other so well that you knew who needed what when, right? So if you felt like somebody needed you on their court right there to be able to make that eye contact, if someone was already done with their match or wasn't playing that day, they knew where to go to help each member on the team be their best selves, which I think I always felt this group had a sense of it's us against the world, and if we're against the world in Oxford or Austin, we're going to do whatever we can to be the strongest us. And you guys did a tremendous job of that as well. So I think it's again a credit to the strength and unity of this team.
And I think that goes without saying too, you played such a pivotal role too for us. I remember actually in, I think it was our first or second match, I don't remember, in Oxford. And of course, massive help, the whole team cheering each other on. And I remember I was down 5-0 and I was like, just please get over to my court. Like, tell me something, because something has changed. And you sat down and you just looked at me like in complete shock. I'm down 5-0. And you said, okay, Neek, just win one game. And I was like, okay, one game. And I ended up coming back and winning that set and then the set after. So of course the team plays a massive role, but so do you. So you played a huge role in that too. So thank you so much.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
I completely second that. I think one of the things I will always remember was, I think it was actually at Sweet 16. I think, was it Kim who was closing out one of the matches? Was that right? Was that the second?
It was Kim. Yeah, the first one, I think. Gaither closed out the second one.
Kim was the first. I remember that first match. It was against, who was the first match now?
Illinois.
And I remember, obviously, Kim was trying to close it out. And I think the one thing I'll always remember in my Rise career was the smile that he gave Kim. And it was as though this smile completely relaxed Kim in this moment where everything was like going crazy. We were trying to get our first massive win in NCAAs or whatever. And I just remember this smile, and I think it completely changed the whole situation. And it was things like that. I think, like you said earlier, everyone just knew what everyone needed, and he was a pivotal role in that.
Well, thanks.
How much did those, moving into the 2013 season, everyone but Solo had been a part of that. And now coming into the next year, what kind of momentum did they give you moving into the next year? And the NCAAs were a tremendous milestone, but there was also the conference championship at that time, which had become a pretty significant roadblock because Tulsa had such a strong program. And it was a credit to the conference that we sent 2 teams on the NCAAs and teams that actually won at the NCAA level. But just talk a little bit about the mindset coming into 2013, both buoyed by what you had accomplished at the end of the year in the NCAAs, but with the idea towards taking the next step, the final step at the conference level. Anyone?
I'll go for it. So yeah, I remember we lost, was it in Memphis? But yeah, the conference finals, it was a close one against Tulsa and we lost. I remember just being so gutted, and I think that was obviously before we made our Sweet 16 run. And then I think, it wasn't like we're playing badly. Tulsa had a great team. But I think those 2 matches, obviously in Oxford, and then we at the Sweet 16 we drew against UCLA, who were number 1 in the country. And to be honest, I think we gave them a good, it was a really good match against them as well. So I think that just gave us so much more confidence to be like, I don't even know what we were ranked at the beginning of the season. I think 70s maybe. I don't know. I think it was high. And then there we were at the end of the season, giving the number 1 team in the country a run for their money. So I think, that gave us all the confidence in the world going into the next season. And I think just we bonded really well as a group, and obviously I think just being such a, I don't know, this is making me miss all the matches and everything. It was such a good time. So yeah, definitely from the previous season into 2013. So
something I was going to say, I think I've discussed this with Elizabeth multiple times on how the confidence and building that confidence in a team and momentum. I felt like me being, more a junior and senior, the times that we did really well. I think from the beginning, I always felt we had a really good, strong team and really good players, and we're just missing that little bit of confidence. So I do think that momentum that we got in, 2012, really helped us bring that confidence that we needed to 2013 for the conference. So I thought results come as your confidence grows. And I did feel like our team was way more confident towards my later years.
Solo, coming in with a team that had reached that moment of the Sweet 16, you feel any different or additional level of expectation or that you were coming in onto a program that was on the rise?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think it was just a great accomplishment, and it was great to see that the program was, achieving great results. But at the end of the day, it still came down to practice and giving it your all and treating each match the same way. And the goal was always to win. So I don't think, for me personally, it had that much of an impact, but it was just kind of a good way to get accustomed to being a freshman on the team and just trusting everyone and learning my spot on the team and figuring out what I need to do in order to help.
Okay. So we come into 2013 in the fall, which is the tournament time. Have some great success. Nat and Dom, won the doubles out in Midland that year, and now you move into the singles, or not singles, the dual portion of the season, and have some success early, and we move towards the Texas match. I'm curious, in general, how aware were you? Now, Dom, you and Kim had played against Texas in 2011, in a match that we lost 7-0. So you had the only experience of directly facing Texas. Elizabeth knew the Longhorns pretty well, being from Austin and everything. I'm just curious, in the larger scope, going back, of course, to the often repeated line from President Kennedy, why does Rice play Texas, which extends, at the time was a football reference, but truly extends to, I think, pretty much any time Rice and Texas meet each other athletically. How many of you were aware, and maybe not as much if there was, since we didn't play every year, a direct rivalry in women's tennis, but just the feelings that Rice as a athletic culture, what they felt about an opportunity to play against Texas. Nat, we'll start with you.
I think one of the things that I loved about this team and the teams that I played on at Rice was that no matter who we played, whether that be Texas or whether that be obviously somebody who wasn't ranked as highly as Texas, I think we treated every single match the same. We prepared the same, we expected the same things from ourselves. And I think we just enjoyed going out and competing. And I think for us, we knew if we put ourselves out there and played the best that we could potentially play, we could pretty much give anyone a good match. So I think for us, that was one of the main things for me. I think we obviously knew we could give Texas a good match. And I think we were pretty confident that if we did the things that we needed to do, we could get that win, because we knew we'd put all those hours in on the practice court, and we knew what we were all capable of. And I think that it basically went from there. But yeah, we treated every match the same, really. So there was no reason why if we didn't do those things, we couldn't get the win.
Elizabeth mentioned to me when we were writing the recap of it was, and this touches on another point that particularly in the early part of every college tennis season can become a factor that maybe somebody that's not that follows that closely is aware, was the fact that it was going to be played outdoors. We had played a lot of our matches outdoors, mostly at the Jake, and all the neat little idiosyncrasies that could come from a match at the Jake, both from 4 and then 2 in the back, and with the stadium court and some of the things that happened there. But if I recall, Texas had not yet played outdoors. And just explain to me a little more how that plays into it and what you can see from a team the first time they come outdoors, particularly because I think it was a windy day. It did have some impact on things, but just talk about that in general. And did that give you any play into, maybe even at all, any little confidence level, knowing that you're more acclimated to the variances that weather can cause?
I can take this to start with. I remember it was a cold, windy day. And I think if you look at this group of women, the games that we had, Nat and I were talking about this the other day, this team would stay out there 7, 8, 9 hours if they had to find a way to get the job done. And I thought, I think tough conditions, tough players embrace tough conditions. And so I knew that the conditions were tough going in, and I felt confident going in because I knew how tough this team was and how this team would find a way to use the conditions to help them. It's windy. Okay, I'm gonna hit my ball high on this side, low on this side. It's cold. I'm gonna do anything I can to keep moving. So I remember thinking, oh, it's kind of brutal conditions today. Good. I like that because I feel confident in our team in brutal conditions. I felt confident anyway, but they would embrace the brutal conditions instead of look for excuses with the brutal conditions. And I knew that about our team going in. So.
I know for us in practice, at least, Elizabeth made sure that unless it was absolutely too cold to be out there playing, that we were out there. We had a couple of days we were outside practicing and the guys went indoors because they thought that it was too cold. So we were ready for that type of weather. And I think we all had confidence. We played great outdoors, and we'd done it so many times in practice that we were going to be able to do it in a match setting as well.
All right. So the match hits the court. Rice is ranked 36. Texas is ranked 29th. It opens in doubles, and Texas wins on 2 to get the first match for the first point rather quickly. And then it leaves Solo and Danny on 3 and Dom and Natalie on 1. Solo and Danny, your match was moving pretty quickly as the match on two. With it being early in the match like that, do you remember anything about your match and just feeling like you had to close yours out and not let it extend any longer and answer to get that, to put it one aside in doubles?
I think for us was mainly like we wanted to win, and like that was like our first like thing, like we needed to win, and then the longest that we could stay there fighting if like things were not going our way, like that was kind of our main priority. I do remember that match with Tulsa, like we came in as a team and we remembered that our doubles points was going to be super important, and we like knew that. I mean, throughout like I guess my time at Rice, I came to realize how important was doubles to give us like that starting position. But I do remember clearly playing Tulsa, and Sol and I were both so nervous, like following every single ball and like trying to get in, and like that was one of our biggest wins, and like we couldn't believe it. Like I don't think Sol or I could believe that we won that match because it was so close and we were literally hitting balls out of the fence. But yeah, I don't know, Sol, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, the communication is always just positive and you're just figuring out what your next play is. But yeah, I mean, you're always fighting in the match. You're supporting your teammates. You're just trying to stay focused. So,
Natalie and Dom, you're facing the doubles team that was at the time ranked 12th in the country. And by that time, just to help you remember in case you don't, your match basically it had been back and forth, but then it draws even and you have to go into a tie break. Again, talk about your focus in that. Realizing that in a match against a ranked opponent in a tough match, how much of a springboard doubles can be. How tough is it, or is it tough at all to not be aware of the additional story and just stay in the mode of encouraging each other and just get the point and win that match?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the main things with tennis is you've always got to try and focus on the next point. Obviously not focus too much on the past or the past at all. Not trying to focus too much on what's going to happen next if this happens or if something else happens. I think that's the biggest challenge with tennis, focusing on that next point and literally only that next point. And as much as you'd love to say, oh no, I don't know what's going on court 2 or 3 or the other courts, you know what's going on. So you try and not understand, you try and not put that into your match, but it does naturally just end up being part of your match as well. So I think the biggest thing is Dom's one of the most positive people that I've ever met. So I know for me, Dom always used to be my balance. So if I was coming down here, Dom would straight away pull me straight back up. So I think the fact that I had somebody next to me on the court, and obviously the team around us as well, who always did that to us in general, I think that helped massively, just having somebody who was so positive and who pulled me from point to point and made sure that even if I played the worst game known to man 2 minutes before, it's all right now, we're fine. There was always positivity around. I think that was the main thing that helped get me through a lot of matches, but especially that one. Dom definitely helped with that.
And right back at you, Nat, like no matter what happened in the match, no matter what ridiculous like overhead I'd miss or if I'd drop shot from 6 feet behind the baseline, it was always like super positive no matter what. And that's what made even like win or lose the doubles so much fun. And having so many girls like so close together, even on those 3 courts, it was really motivating regardless.
Elizabeth, winning that doubles point, there's different ways you can win doubles point. You can kind of run right through it, and then there's more of a sort of a dramatic battle to pull that point out and everything. And I think by 2013 was really just still the first years of when they had changed the timing, where the time from singles to doubles had been shortened. So you used to have more of an extended period where maybe the momentum either way would kind of ebb a little bit. But as a coach, how much do you have to, you want to use that energy moving forward, but you also want to harness it a little bit so it doesn't run away from the team or get anything out of focus? What's the challenge as a coach?
Well, I think that you want to celebrate your successes. So I always like right after that, if, you know, in this instance or anytime you win the doubles point, let's have excitement, but then, okay, we have work still to do, right? That's 1 point of 4 that we need to get, right? So I think, again, that goes down to the maturity of the team, understanding kind of what Nat said is that you're playing 1 point at a time, right? You can't focus too much on the past point, and you can't focus too much on the future point. We need to really do the job at hand. So celebrate, have that team moment together, because I think it's important to take that energy into singles, but then also let's refocus, let's get ready to go, and let's all go out and do our jobs. And obviously, that's what this team did very well a lot of days, and in this day in particular. So, but it's a fine balance to navigate, and but I think when you have a strong team like this, it happens a little bit naturally too.
Okay. And just to bring you up to speed, and we move to singles, Natalie gets off the court quickly and gets a win. And Texas
As usual.
Then Texas, as you would expect, they storm back and they win 3 matches. So they take a 3-2 lead with 2 matches left. One, the freshman, and the other with Liat Zimmerman. Liat splits her first 2 sets, and about the time it takes Solo wins her first set 7-5. And Elizabeth, I know the quotes at the time said that you weren't really, you would divide it up and you were with Solo at her match, so you weren't really able to follow too closely. Having never been to Panic Alice, and I don't, was there anything about that one that made it that tough, or is it just the sheer fact of being on court 6, court 2 that made it tough to follow the others?
Well, the setup of their facility, it's a three on one side, and then there's a big stadium stands. There's probably 10 rows of stands on that side, and then there's a walkway, and then another 10 rows of stands. Yeah. So and at that time, now I think they have a scoreboard on both. Well, they don't have Pinnock anymore, but but there was only a scoreboard on the other side. So the side that Solo, Gaither, Kim, and I were on court on that day, we couldn't see the scoreboard. But I think that's where, again, the team, it's, I mean, I'm sure, Leah wasn't on court that day, but Leah was making sure, as a coach, I like to know. And Solo actually, I think, asked me during the match what the score is. And that's not the first time I've been asked by players. Players want to know.
Tell me.
Sorry?
Tell me what the score is.
Tell me the score. Yeah. Oh, I'm nervous. All right. Well, that's good. You're nervous. That, like if you're not nervous, I would wonder about you at this point. But but yeah. So Chuck, your question was about the setup. Is that what you said?
And just about you touched on it. Just the idea that you're there to encourage Solo. You're not really able to follow the other match, but what's going on, and then so just. At that point, the team scores 3-2, and the match in front of you until you hear that it's now 4-2. How crucial that match is. So, just again.
Yeah, at that point, you're aware of what the score is, but you're trying to do what you can where you are. So, I was sitting on the court with Solo. The team was behind her, was behind Leah. The great on our sport, you have. Players can stand on the court next to you when they're done. So you've got a couple players on the court next to Solo, a couple players next to Liat's court. But yeah, we're trying to be in the moment. We're aware of what the score is, but you're trying to do everything you can to help the player on the court at that time that you're on. So, and then I remember the minute that match was done, we're running through the tunnel to get to the other side to see what's going on there and throw the support into a Liat's match, right? So the tunnel underneath Solo, I don't know if you remember that, but so. I think people probably left their rackets on their court and wherever they were and just ran to that court, and so to watch. So, but you're just trying to take care of the job at hand, but also you're very aware of what's going on with the rest of the team. So.
I think
go ahead.
I could add one thing in as well that was brilliant about this team. I know there was only 6 people on the court at any one time, but the support that was given by the other 2 who weren't on the court was unbelievable. And I think a lot of us will be able to remember that. They knew exactly. They were there. They were probably as important, if not more important, than the 6 people actually on the court. The motivation that they used to give and the backing that we used to get from those who weren't actually on the court was unbelievable. I always remember that of this team. And on those days, because like you said there, they would be able to help Elizabeth out in ways that people who were on the court couldn't. So I think that's important as well. That was one thing that stood out with this team.
Sure.
Well, as we know, or we wouldn't be showing it and we wouldn't be talking about it right now, but Solo prevailed. And then Liat was able to fight through a couple ebbs and flows in her match, delivered the clinching win, the first ever win against Texas. And of course, Solo as a senior delivered the clinching point for the second win over Texas, which I don't know if she remembered that or not, but she did. I'm here to help her out with that.
Oh,
But
yeah, I remember that.
That was it.
Yeah, was that
George
right?
R. Brown. Yeah, it was a rice.
That one.
But let me ask you that, and knowing that Elizabeth does such a great job of talking about the focus one at a time, she hates me whenever I bring up numbers to her, anything that quantifies things, and I appreciate that. Do any of you recall anything after the match where suddenly it dawned on you a little bit of, wow, this one meant a lot to a lot of people, any kind of reaction to other people about being the first team to beat Texas and a team that beat Texas in competition?
I think, well, I think being foreign as well, not really aware of even college sports in general. But I remember I transferred in my junior year, and I think it was early, or whatever the first football game was, a bunch of the guys and girls from the tennis team, we all went to Austin to watch Rice play UT football. And it was just unbelievable, the size of the stadium there and everything. Obviously Rice is a big stadium, but the amount of fans that they had, and the Rice section, a little bit smaller. So yeah, just seeing the magnitude of the tailgating and all the gear that everyone had is just crazy. So I think it just shows kind of, just how big a sports school they are, and that it was a huge achievement for us to hold our own against them and beat them. So yeah. We got a lot of high fives from other sports teams as well at Rice, I think, when we came back. That was good.
I remember that there was a Rice, our facility is a tennis club also in the evenings, and there was a Rice Tennis Club member who was in Austin for the weekend. And for some reason, he was watching the match. I guess he had seen on wherever he was, the Longhorn Network was on. And after the match, he was at the courts, and he came up to me. He said, I saw this unfolding on TV, and I wanted to come be a part of it and come see it. And he actually came out to the mat. He came out to the courts and watched it, and wanted to be there and feel the energy of the team. And I vividly remember him doing that. I thought that was really cool. And I think to me that showed how much it meant to our fan base as well, like to go into Austin and beat Texas at their place for the first time in history. But yeah, it was pretty cool when he came up to me and said that, and it's something that stuck with me to this day. So.
I was going to say that like those kind of wins, like I think kind of brings up the hope in the team and think like these things are possible and like we can do it. And I think going from my freshman year until now, like I remember like being in like that team in our mind, Tulsa, being like, oh, we're always so close and we're not able to beat them, or like the finals and stuff. And like, I think that just opens your mind that like, this is possible and we can do it regardless of how big they are or anything. So I thought that was like really key for us.
But just give me some great memories, because that was a pretty special day to win the conference championship. Katie had become very adept at dealing with any nerves of being in a clinch situation. So when this one came up, she was icy cold, steely, and 100% calm the entire time. But just remember, I remember Natalie having to sprint over from the other side, other courts to when Katie clinched. But just give me a few memories of winning that conference championship and really attaining that goal, which had been the one that had been so elusive.
I think I don't know what our Chuck, you probably know better, or what our record was against Tulsa before then, but we'd lost quite a few times, and it wasn't like we were losing very easily. It was always really tight, heartbreaking matches that we just didn't get the win at the end of the day. But it was at UH, I think, and I don't know, I think we had like Nat was saying earlier, I think we had such a routine and took every match one match at a time, 1 point at a time, and we had such a routine. That's what I always remember. Like we always had quite superstitious actually. I remember Jason, our trainer, had his fluorescent yellow shoes. We always warmed up with the same partners. So I think it was just sort of autopilot as soon as we got ready for our match and everything. Even down to the 5 minutes before the match, even in between doubles, what we were doing those 10 minutes, every match was the same. And I think that really helped us. And then the confidence from the previous year, I think that played a big factor as well in those tight moments where it was, I think you all make fun of my shaky arm. The previous year it still was really shaking, I think, that time as well. I remember my serve was horrendous, just plopping it in. But did the job. And yeah, I think it was routine and confidence, and just, really coming together as a team to because, there was a lot of tight points in that as well. And yeah.
Gaither, you talk about your serve, but the person on here who probably has the record for best serve is Dominique, who aced somebody because the ball bounced twice before they could get to it.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I forgot about this.
So that was in Oxford, actually. It bounced twice.
I don't remember how it happened though. Like, was it really just like I tapped it, or did the wind take it, or did I slice it, or
maybe all of the above a little bit. Maybe you're a
Okay.
little nervous and your arm didn't quite go through, and but I do remember, and I was trying to keep. Sorry, I was trying to keep a straight face. It was double bounce ace, but I'm going to add to the one thing I remember about Houston. I don't know if you guys beating Tulsa at Houston is running through the little bridge that our fans made after the match, coming off of Gaither's court. Do you guys remember that? Like we had a really nice crowd there that day as well, and they all made a little, like, was that what it's called? Where you put your hands up?
Yeah.
The team.
We had an amazing group of people that used to come out to literally every single match. When you look at the fan base that we used to have, it was absolutely fantastic. And I don't think we could ever thank them enough for what they used to do for us, because they really did carry us through a lot of matches. Yeah. And they literally dedicated every single weekend or every single day we had a match to our matches, and it was fantastic.
Was it Jay? What was that guy's name that always came up for Katie? Jay?
I think so.
But we also cooked cookies. Remember, every single match, like chocolate chip cookies, and those are amazing.
Yeah. See, this is our secret. That was our pregame.
Yeah.
I
traditions
can't believe we had was it 10 minutes in between singles and doubles and singles, and we used to eat I ate an entire brown bag sandwich with that much ham and 4 slices of cheese, chips and banana in 10 minutes, then go and play 3-hour match in 100-degree heat. What?
This is what we used to do.
Yeah, that's what you used to do.
The one thing before we end, I did want to just touch upon is that a couple of the team members aren't with us today, but just to kind of talk about their contributions, both to the match against Texas, to the conference championship, and to the day-to-day of the season. Obviously, Kim Anisat was a key performer on the courts, delivered both singles and doubles. Stephanie Nguyen, and then Jane Stewart was a part of the team. So just to make sure we give them a shout out and draw them into this. Just talk a little bit about each of them and what they brought to the process that led to the kind of celebrations that we're closing with here.
I'll start with Kim. She was just always full of energy at every match. So really, no matter what the conditions were, no matter what the score was, both on and off the court, Kim was just such a pleasure to be on the same court with, or same courts with. And same thing, the support we got from Steph and Jane were just really, really awesome. And again, the whole team together contributed to the success that we had. But yeah, great times for sure, and miss them.
Yeah, no, I agree with Dom there. You couldn't tell what the score was with Kim. She could be a set and 5 love down, and you'd still think that she was winning. And I know that energy definitely carried through all 6 courts without a shadow of a doubt. So Kim was one of those that, to be honest, every single person that I played with on this team was an absolute joy to be around. So I think it's been a privilege and an honour to compete with all of them, to be completely honest. And Kim exemplified that, along with Jade and Steph as well. So I think we were just really lucky to have some amazing women on this team, and basically thank you for everything, and thank you for letting me be a part of that team, really. That's all I could say.
Something I think Liat was kind of like that key that we have our team. Like, I think I was so impressed, like the way she handled pressure, and like she performed so well under pressure. So I think these 2 matches that we had, especially Texas, you know, I think she won the first set, she dropped the second one 6-0, and she was able to come back because she enjoyed the pressure so much, and she enjoyed competing and like having that pressure, that she did things that was like unbelievable on the court that when she was under that pressure. So I don't know how she did it or how she was able to pull that off, but it was very impressive that she was able to handle the pressure like no other.
Yeah, definitely.
She truly embraced that moment at Texas. I can still remember her like out there and how much she loved being in that 3-all moment. And I think everybody on this call knows about 3-all moments, and I think everybody embraces them, but she definitely, I agree with that, like just like totally embraced it, and there was no fear. There was, I'm going forward, I'm going to embrace this. I do want to say Steph and Kim are not on this call today. They're both in the medical field, which I think is important to point out, especially in this time that they're putting themselves on the line for us in a really tough time. And it's some of you guys probably saw the interview with Steph that Chuck did, which was phenomenal. But Kim as well, she's a nurse here in Houston, and I know I've been staying in touch with her, and obviously it's a tough time for everyone, and she's putting herself out there daily to help her patients and help our community. So we're really grateful. That goes back to the beginning, what I said, all of these women are doing wonderful things for people long after their time at Rice, which is, as a coach, is a proud moment. So.
Well, when this group finished their careers, again, these are some more numbers, Elizabeth, I'm sorry, but this group on the call today and their teammates completed their careers at Rice, over 300 wins in dual singles, over nearly 300 wins or 200 wins in dual doubles, obviously captured conference championships. Something that for Solo got to be old hat, winning 4 straight conference championships. Solo is in a very unique spot in that she was the first woman to play on 4 Conference USA championship teams. Also been part of a couple NCAA teams that won matches. But when each of you looks back now from this rather surprising 7 years already to get to this point. Let's just go around the room and what are you most proud of when you reflect back on this time? And Leah, we're going to start with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chuck. I think for me, people mention it, but just the great group of women that we had and the experiences that we had both on and off the court, it was amazing. I mean, we couldn't have had a better college experience. And I think that was due to everyone here and probably the folks who are watching this as well. So I had the best time.
I think what I would highlight for my time, it was like that friendship that we had. I think I remember coming in, I came in January, and having that community from the very beginning and being so supportive to navigate not only like, tennis, but also like school and finding jobs and like going through that entire process. And even till this day, like having this group of people that you could really call your like closest friends of all. And like, I don't think people realize the amount of time that we spent together in another court, but maybe outside the court, it was by choice because we liked each other so much and we enjoyed each other's companies that we were basically attached to the hip. And I think that just calls out to like, great group of people and like teammates, but most of all, like, good friends.
I also, wanted to add to, apart from all the phenomenal friendships we formed and this close-knit group that we have, it also shaped a lot of, I guess, my goal setting towards my career as well. I think just being on the team and the tenacity we had, it really made me believe that I can achieve anything I set my mind to. And I really carried that forward past the tennis as well. So really just so many different areas that playing on this team really gave me from, a ton of different sectors. And I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think prior to Rice, you're sort of looking at tennis teams, you're kind of, the focus is tennis. And while that was all, we had such amazing experiences on the court, I think the thing that we've got out of Rice is like the friendships. I mean, I was at Danny's wedding in Bolivia in January. It was like, graduated 7 years ago, lived on different continents, still all keeping in touch. Nat and I were on holiday last year. I've been, to visit various people. Yeah, and with Danny as well. So, we're all still in touch. And I think it's just, you go in thinking about your tennis, and you've always kind of been focused on tennis. And then, you're kind of thrown into this group of 10 girls, and it's definitely some great friendships, lifelong friendships. So I think and Elizabeth too, you're included in that as well.
Appreciate that, Gaither.
Yeah, no, I think we touched on earlier, like we all said, that tennis is a very individual sport. So I think for me, coming and playing on a team and being surrounded by literally exceptional people day in, day out, because I think you take that for granted when you're at Rice. You don't realise that you are actually surrounded by exceptional people. And I think until you get out of that environment and you're not in that all the time, you don't realise what you actually, the group of people that you were with until that point. But I think just being surrounded by these exceptional women all the time, and obviously the coaches that we had, the team around us, everyone that was involved in Rice athletics, I think that just made the whole experience absolutely unbelievable. And it's basically, I think I've come to appreciate these last few weeks and months, especially everything that's been going on. That experience is never going to happen again. And I think it's something that I will definitely treasure for the rest of my life, and just never really truly understand how I got so lucky to be on a team basically that was with all these people. So it's fantastic. And you know what, it still is fantastic because we are all still a team and we do all still keep in touch, which I think is the beautiful thing about this. So thanks everyone.
Solo?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly what Natalie said. I mean, I think just the 4 years in general, just the rich experience that I've had at Rice as a student athlete has, all the lessons that I've learned, all the ups and downs and everything that I've gained from this experience has contributed tremendously to my career now. And there's no way I would be able to do, what I do on a daily basis now without my experience as a student athlete at such an incredible university as Rice. And also just all the friendships and keeping up with everyone. You always know that you have your teammates on and off the court when you're at Rice, and after graduation it's kind of the same. Nothing really changes. You always have your teammates to reach out to whenever there's anything going on in your life. So it's just such an incredible community to be part of.
Elizabeth?
I think they said it beautifully. I think they worked hard together, they competed hard together, and they had a blast doing it, which I think is the ultimate college experience. And that's, as a coach, your hope for your team. And but they had that experience because of them and everything they did to embrace the moment, the tough moments and the great moments. I mean, it's 4 years. There's great moments, there's tough moments, but this team. And this group of women, and many of them have come through our program. They're special, and I love that they're just driven, but they enjoy it too, and they appreciate and have a ton of gratitude for each other and for Rice, which is super cool to see.
Well,
So can I just say,
please do.
Carry on. He gave us that ability to have the experience that we had, and I think I can speak for all of us here and say that without the coach, without it and the assistant coaches that we had over the years, we wouldn't have had that experience. And I think we could never really thank you enough for that. So thank you.
It means a lot. I appreciate it. It's the memories we all created together is amazing, and the friendships that we continue to carry on is really cool too. And that's what I love about this. And so everyone knows this isn't the first time we've all seen each other, which I think is really cool, or spoken to each other, whether it's texts or groupings. But yeah, so Owls for life and friends for life, which is really awesome.
And big shout out to Eunice as well.
Totally. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for getting together to remember as best we could the win over Texas. The great news is if you need to flesh your memory out a little better, we'll be broadcasting it next Saturday or this Saturday on Facebook Live. A chance for everybody to celebrate that particular win, and also celebrate just a very special team, a very special group of women who, as we said, have not left the days of accomplishment behind when they left the courts at Rice. So again, thanks everyone for tuning in for this today. Thanks everyone for participating, and we hope to see you at our next Rewatch Roundtable. Thanks.